Matthew? All right, well, we'll give you a minute, be sure. We're up. We're good? All right, the meeting's been called to order, and Doug, if you can do the roll call.
Yes, Chair Holmquist,
Here.
Mr. Stein,
Here.
Mr. Holmberg,
Here.
Ms. Follett,
Here.
Ms. Fox,
Can't hear either.
Alder DePula, Mr. Chapman, and Mr. Grice are all excused.
All right, we move on to item 3, which is approval of the minutes from May 19, 2025. Is there a motion?
Move approval.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, any corrections? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes have been passed. There was no change in the order of business tonight. Under the appearance section, is there anybody here to appear on an item that is not on the agenda or not scheduled for a public hearing? Seeing none in the room. Anybody on Zoom here to appear on an item that is either not agended or agended, and you want to make sure that you're in the list of appearances?
Hi, this is Christy Weber. I'm representing the Working Team project.
Okay, thank you. Yep, you're on the agenda, so wonderful, thank you. Is there anybody else on Zoom that is here wishing to provide a general appearance or appear on the public hearing section of any item that is on the agenda? That's not a good sign. It says our internet connection's unstable, so we'll give it a minute.
I think we're back. Yeah,
Okay, and nobody's raised their hand there.
not that I'm seeing, no.
Okay, we should be good. All right, we can close the appearance section. There is no unfinished business tonight. We go on to item 7A, which is the public hearing, a request by Zadi's LLC for approval of a zoning permit for a new hemp-derived retail use at 6312 Minot Drive. And this is case number 215-2025. And is there someone here to kind of give us a general overview? If you can come up here. In the public hearing section, it's just helpful, in a nutshell, if you ran into someone and they said, hey, what are you trying to do? Give us the 1-minute speech, because then we're gonna get to the real thing. You just wanna speak at the mic, so take a seat, relax. This allows just an opportunity for the public to speak, but I always like it for the applicant to be able to give an introduction of what it is that they're trying to do, to then allow the public to speak.
Am I able to join?
What's that?
I'm a part of this.
Absolutely, yeah.
Am I good to go?
Yep, go for it.
Well, for us here at Zadi's, we like to focus on all natural cannabis solutions for everything we do. A lot of stores that are here in the Madison, Monona area, they focus on what we call all sorts. They focus on all cannabinoids. Here at Zadi's, we focus on what's called the big 6 cannabinoids. Those are the only cannabinoids we know how to extract out the plant naturally to give people an organic and natural solution to cannabis. We also focus on helping people substitute all natural cannabis with opioids to help wean them off of any of their addictive substances. We also focus on just basically providing people a safe way to use cannabis, I guess, all around the board, all the way from seed, cultivation, manufacturing, retail, to all the way around, I guess.
All right, wonderful. And again, this is just the public hearing section, so we'll have a further discussion underneath the next item, which is consideration of action. But in the public hearing section, we'll give an opportunity for anybody that came here tonight to speak, to come speak on your behalf. And I have one slip of paper, I'm not sure if there are others, and this is State Representative Sheila Stubbs. Do you want to join us up at the mic, and that way you can introduce yourself and speak on your behalf.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is State Representative Sheila Stubbs, and I'm honored to be here tonight. I wanted to stop by and officially introduce myself. This is a new part of the district. I represent the 78th Assembly District, which includes the entire city of Monona, the south and east sides of Madison, a portion of the village of McFarland, in the town of Blooming Grove. So I thought, since we had a meeting tonight, that I would stop by literally to introduce myself, and thank you, Chairman Holmquist, for allowing me this opportunity to introduce myself, because I'm new to the district, but I'm not new to living close to the district. I've been in Madison since 1993, and I live right on Lake Point, and have been at this library for over 30 years and worked on my master's level work, so this is not new to me, but I do wanted to officially stop by and introduce myself, see how your meetings are operating, see if there's anything I could do as your representative to assist you. I do have my cards with me. And again, Zotti's is one of the businesses that reached out to my office just with questions, processes, and things like that. So I've been honored to assist them and getting as many questions answered as possible. The Director of Planning and Economic Development, Mr. Plowman, has been wonderful to work with, again, because I'm new to here in the district, learning the process, because I've only represented the city of Madison in the village of Shorewood Hills. So this is new for me to work on, and thank you so much for all of the work you've been doing, Mr. Plowman, back and forth with our conversations with my office, and again, thank you for all that you do.
All right, wonderful, thank you. Is there anybody else here to speak on this item? Seeing none in the room.
I had one that had
We have one that was mailed in or talked to you?
phone message,
Phone?
yes.
All right. We'll have Doug read that in.
Thank you. So I did receive one message. This was a phone message. I was unable to connect with the individual, but Linda Simley and called not in favor of the application, concerns with the impact to others, and just stressed that they were not in favor. Again, I was not able to expand on that or have that discussion, but just wanted that to be included. I believe they're a nearby neighbor of the proposed use.
All right.
Thanks.
Is there anybody on Zoom that is here to speak during the public hearing section for item A for Zotti's application? Seeing none, we will close the public hearing section. We can move on to item 7B, which is consideration of action for the request by Zotti's LLC for approval of a zoning permit for a new hemp-derived retail use at 6312 Monona Drive, case number 2/15/2025. Doug.
Thank you. So the request this evening is for a zoning permit application for the new hemp-derived retail location, 6312 Monona Drive. The business would specialize in sales of hemp flowers, pre-rolls that would be non-electric, edibles, tinctures, topicals, and various compliant cannabinoids such as Delta-8 and Delta-9. This would be the second location in the Dane County area, in addition to a retail location on Park Street in the city of Madison. The business expects to employ between 5 and 10 people, with 3 staff working at the peak shift, 50 to 100 customers expected per day, with weekend and holiday hours typically higher. The property here at 6312 Monona Drive is part of the retail business zoning district. And the language for that is retail, trade, service, office, financial, professional, ancillary residential, and entertainment activities serving the community. And the Planning Commission reviews applications, zoning permit applications within this area. 2016 comprehensive plan has this as a commercial use in both the current and the future land use maps. Adjacent uses include the Reptile Rapture in the adjacent in the same building just to the north, Tempted Salon to the south, with single-family residential uses east of the property along Roselawn Avenue. The proposed use aligns with the comprehensive plan vision for the site, although the hours differ from the immediately adjacent businesses. The space is currently vacant and was most recently occupied by Mad City Liquidations. As far as the electronic smoking retailers, the Commission will be aware that there was discussion of electronic smoking retailer regulations. This followed a temporary moratorium on the acceptance of applications given concerns with public health, safety, and welfare. The ordinance was shared with the applicant and discussed, and this does not apply to the applicant this evening, to Zotti's, as they do not sell any electronic smoking or vaping devices, and that was acknowledged as well in the application letter. As far as the parking, 1 parking stall is required for every 300 square feet of gross floor area. The application materials show 2,000 square feet, necessitating 7 stalls. The application shows there are 5 dedicated parking stalls, including 1 handicap in front of the store, with another 3 behind the store for staff and deliveries. In addition, the Bishop of the Church at 6200 Monona Drive has given written permission for overflow parking in evenings from 7 p.m. to 2 a.m. each day, and that again is included in the materials. There may be some discussion given the operating hours of some of the adjacent buildings as well, if there's possibility of other shared parking, but the use at 6200 has authorized that. As far as building modifications, there would be updates to the site landscaping as well as the exterior signage. Security cameras and alarm systems are proposed, as well as secure entry points and ID verification systems. No changes are proposed to the existing lighting. It may be a discussion point the Commission chooses to look at this evening, given the extended hours, and discuss if additional on-building lighting is necessary. The application materials discuss that additional landscaping will be added that will be harmonious and maintain the aesthetic along Monona Drive. This would be in line with the Monona Drive urban design guidelines as well for that buffer between the parking and the street. So it's been suggested that the applicant work with city staff to complete a landscaping plan for that area, most likely with administrative approval for that. In terms of the hours of operation, these would be 9 a.m. to midnight, 7 days per week. It was shared the later nighttime hours are both strategic and based on experience. Just a note is that the Park Street location in Madison has hours of 8 a.m. To 9 p.m., with deliveries extending as late as 3 a.m. on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday nights. These hours do differ from those in the immediate vicinity of the proposed use, but there are others on Monona Drive that are listed as being open this late. Just checking a quick Google search shows that the Quick Trip at the corner of Broadway and Monona is open 24 hours. Tully's is open until 2 a.m., and the Taco John's across the street is open until 11 on the weekend hours, Thursday through Saturday. So there may be some discussion about the appropriateness of the proposed hours. And there is the possibility of the Commission prescribing operating hours if there is a legitimate public safety purpose to do so. Just pointing out as well the signage, the application materials do not discuss that, although some initial signage has been placed on the facade. The recommendation would be that the applicant work with staff after the zoning permit discussion to discuss signage options and make sure that those are permitted, and the plans were shared with the city department heads, and you'll see a comment here from the fire chief about a Knox box with new master keys. A very typical condition that if it's not installed, it shall be done, and that would be for any new business in the city. With that, the recommendation is discussion of the zoning permit request, and if the Commission chooses to approve, suggested conditions of approval are listed in the staff report. Thank you.
All right. Rob? Start with you.
Sure. I think the use is appropriate. My only comments were covered by staff, in that if parking becomes an issue, that would have to be addressed, and then site of the site and landscaping. I did have a question about security. It says that you have security on staff. Is that full-time security? And it seems, have you had experience with Park Street that warrants that?
No, we just like to stay with standards for other states. We try to fall in the line as if laws for other states for their actual recreational dispensaries. We just try to stay in those guidelines, even though we don't have to fall in those guidelines. We just like to practice that.
Okay.
Along with that, it also allows for there to be secure ID checking. So no minors will be allowed on the premises of our store or inside.
So you check at the door, basically?
Yep.
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 Okay.
So we do have photos of those and where our ID check is, if you'd like to see those.
No, not at this time.
But inside the store, though?
Yep.
Yes.
Yep. So,
Well, certainly, I think it's an appropriate use, and I guess, there are usual concerns about parking. When I went over it, there aren't that many stalls, when you say 50 to 100 customers, I'm thinking, but what's the average time that a customer generally spends in your shop? I mean, are we talking 10, 15 minutes? 20 minutes?
Some customers are quick. They're in there within 2 minutes. Some
Yeah.
customers are longer ones, no more than 10 minutes, I would
As
say.
if they know what they want.
Yeah.
Okay. And I really appreciate that you are limiting it to age 18 and older, because I know that's not required by law, so I appreciate that you're doing that. And I appreciate the check-in. I think you said you have a table near the door where somebody sits to check everything when they come in, so I appreciate that as well. Let's see. How long have you been at the Park Street location, just out of curiosity?
It'll be 2 years in February, so
Okay.
about a year and a half now.
Okay. So you have that amount of experience anyway. I'm not sure what I think about the hours of operation. There are a couple places right around you. I mean, the Quick Trip you mentioned, it was 24 hours, and Taco John's is open till 11. I'd be curious to hear what other people think about that, whether that's appropriate or midnight. Let's see, landscaping, you know, when I went and looked at it, the whole building needs landscaping really, and I don't know if this is our opportunity to have them do it in front of the Reptile Rapture. I mean, that whole stretch, and we're talking between the library and the sidewalk and the parking lot, that area clearly needs something. And if this is our opportunity to get that done, that would be great. Let's see. I guess that was it. It did look like your staff could pretty much park behind the building, and so you'd have the front for customers, and you know, it might be that it's not a problem. It's nice to know that you have the official approval of the church to use theirs if you really need. Oh, I saw something on your Park Street website. Do you do events or something sometimes, or what was that?
Every once in a while, we'll collaborate on events. Lately, they've been at like the Crucible.
Okay.
There has been one downtown at Tavern Kaya that we recently collaborated on. So.
Okay, because there again, my first thought was parking, but anyway, because that would be more people. I think that's probably it. So the security cameras will be inside the store, is that how you?
Inside and out.
Inside and out, okay. All right, and we had, we might suggest that a landscaping plan be submitted to the city by, completed by the end of August. I don't know if that sounds reasonable. Think about that. All right, that's it for me.
Great.
Does the same owner for Reptile Rapture as this building?
I believe it's the same
Yeah, I
one.
think
Do you know if it's just? Okay.
Yes, it
And
is.
the
All right.
report, yeah.
And then did I understand in the staff report that there is shared parking between Reptile Rapture and your proposed business?
Yes.
So like you have the 5 stalls, but they have the rest, but you are in agreement that you can share those spaces?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Parking, I mean, we always ask about parking. So when I went and looked at it today, and I was wondering, the church parking lot seems pretty far away. There's the corporate business systems building in between your proposed business and the church. Did you talk to the other business owner and they weren't willing to?
We haven't had a chance to talk to them. I know they do close around 5, 6 o'clock. The Reptile Rapture has used their parking lot for overflow parking when I did talk to him before, and they've never had a problem with it, but we did not get a chance to talk to him specifically.
I do have concerns about using the church parking because it's pretty far, and there's not, I mean, if you are open, well, even in the winter, I mean, even if you're open at 5 or 6, it gets dark. And so to have people walking from the church parking lot over to your proposed business, I guess I would prefer that the parking, if there's a need for additional parking, that maybe you have a conversation with the corporate business. I can't remember the name of the building, but you know what I'm
Right, yeah,
talking about, the
yeah.
one right next door. But, you know, if you did have an event or something, and that it's nice to know that the church would allow you to use their parking, that seems like that would be. And they had said something in there about having notification 24 hours in advance, so that was a little confusing because it sounded like they said, yes, they can use it, and then there was the statement about they have to give us 24 hours notice. So I found that a little confusing, but, yeah. So the parking, I guess, just continue to work with Doug on that, and there's a condition in there that, you know, this could be, or is there a condition on parking? Okay.
Yeah.
And then with the operating hours, I guess I was just wondering if, in your letter, you talked about how your experience has indicated that the later hours would be beneficial, but then Is there a reason that you don't have your Park Street location open those later hours?
Our landlord there just asked us if we could close at 9 p.m. It's just his preference there.
Okay.
That's why we close at 9 p.m. at our Park Street location. Richard, he's the owner of Reptile Rapture.
Okay.
He doesn't have a preference on how late we stay open. The reason we like to stay open that late is just so we can basically cater to all shift changes, I guess.
Mhm.
We do also get a good bit of customers from the third shift, like
Mhm.
overnight shift.
Yeah. Yeah, I understand that. I was just wondering if, why you weren't doing it at your other location. Yeah, I think the statement that Mr. Plowman had mentioned is that if there are some safety issues with it being open that late, that would be something to consider. But it's your business and you know what would work for you. So we're not here to tell you what you can and can't do in terms of that, I don't think. Unless there's a reason. We need to have a reason. So those are my two biggest concerns. And so I guess that's what, I'll leave it at that.
Chris? Okay. Well, first, thank you, Representative Stubbs, for coming and introducing yourself.
Thank
I think you will find we are much easier to work with than Madison.
Ditto, I
everyone
think
would
so.
agree with that?
And that would be okay if that message got back to them, too.
Yes, sir.
And thank you for educating me on this, because I had no idea it was legal. I had absolutely no idea. So why do people smoke if you can just go buy this and have it? I don't even get it. But
That's what we like to do. A big reason we like to do this too is because last year Illinois made over $10 million in taxes alone, just off of people from Wisconsin going down there. So we've already seen a large chunk of taxes just from our business being put back into the
you're a
community.
pretty small business for us to get 10 million back from. That'd be a start, but I had no idea. So this is 2018 law that
Yep.
was passed, farm bill or act or
Yep,
something?
so in 2018, they passed a bill saying any hemp-derived products under 0.3% dry weight for THC is legal. So all of our products, we only focus on the big 6 cannabinoids, which is THC, THCV, CBC, CBN, CBG, and I'm forgetting one of them. CBC, CBN, CBG, CBC. I'm forgetting one of them, but there's about 118 cannabinoids. All those other ones are chemically extracted out the plant. We don't focus on any of those. We like to keep it as natural as possible. So that's really where we come in at, compared to all of our, I guess, other stores around here that do also sell hemp-derived products.
Well, it was education for me, thanks. I looked at the lighting, that's that massive pole up front. The lighting up front, I'm sure, is good. And in the back, there's a dusk to dawn light on the power pole, so I don't have any concerns with the lighting. I guess I should start out, I think it's an appropriate use, your store. I have a problem with the hours, and that is because of the neighbor behind you. When I went back in your parking lot, he or she, whoever they are, have a beautiful deck there overlooking you, and I can imagine at 9, 8, 7, any time like that, they probably expect a little peace and quiet in their backyard, and not a lot of clanking and banging. So I don't think it's an issue for me on Monona Drive. I think it's an issue in the back when it gets to be so many hours. So I'm wondering if there's a way we can limit operations in the back after a certain time. Certainly limit any deliveries or anything like that.
Yeah.
But I mean, really somehow keep it down to a minimum in the backyard, because that is a sensitive area. That's a single-family residential area. and a business, when they bought that home, I'm sure they didn't anticipate a business that would be ongoing at midnight. And for all your best intentions, people crank it up at midnight sometimes.
Yeah.
So how can we limit that back use after certain hours, or what can you do?
So with that back use, we only keep it for employees. We don't allow customers back there.
How do you not allow customers? Well, you have security, huh?
We have cameras back there that
Are they up now?
The Reptile Raptures is. We will have ours up, I would say, within the next 2 to 3
As I
days.
say, I didn't notice them, but you'll have them in the back. And
Yep.
you'll be able to monitor that. This, for me, I would like to see some type of condition that we really limit what can happen in that back after a certain hour. And
I can definitely put like some cones up after a certain hour, maybe a sign, whatever you guys feel comfortable with.
well, if that was your house, what would you feel comfortable with?
Um,
You probably want to go out in your backyard, enjoy your backyard, and enjoy your deck,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
So, what time would feel good to you if you lived there?
I would say, I'm trying to think, me as a young person, I'm not trying to think it's a standard.
Somebody really
I would say maybe sometimes in between the hours of probably 7 and 9. My mom always told me start quieting down at 9 o'clock. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if
No
they're in their-
phone calls
if
after
they're on their
9.
deck in the backyard, it seems to me, Reptile Rapture, when do they close, 5, 6?
At 7, yes.
7? Then maybe something like that might be appropriate, because you have a lot more parking then too.
Mhm.
I'm just trying to keep the concerns of whoever lives there. I guess we haven't heard from them, but I don't think any of us would, if you want to be out on your deck, grilling, friends, it's nice to not have a lot going on. We're going to say that you can't have activity back there after a certain time, but if one of your employees is going there quietly and parking and then leaving, we're never going to know, because no one's ever going to complain, right? But if there's deliveries coming in, or there's a lot of noise back there, then someone's going to complain.
With deliveries too, our main store is Park Street. So with that being said, we can also have our base deliveries come specifically from Park Street only, if that would definitely
I think during regular business, when I say regular business hours, till 5 o'clock at night,
yeah, of course.
it's a business area. People
Right.
expect activity, and I don't
Mhm.
think it'd be any issue if you want to bring people in then. I'm just
Mhm.
saying, when you get after that,
Mhm.
dinner hour and after,
Yep.
it's nice to have a little
Mhm.
respect for the residential area.
Yeah, we can definitely make sure our delivery source comes from our Park Street location after those hours too, just to improve
Sure.
the white noise of it too. So,
I think that would be helpful. It'd be helpful for your neighborhood too. When it comes to the parking, I don't see this as a huge parking generator as much as most businesses, so that's why I wasn't as concerned. And the condition in there, I'm sure you understand the condition, that if it becomes an issue, Plan Commission can bring it back up and say, you gotta do something.
Mhm.
So it is in there.
Right,
It's a
yeah.
condition we put in all the time, because we always have problems with parking, not having enough parking, which is different than Madison.
At our Park Street location, we do have about 7 stalls in that lot, and we share that with the Curve,
Okay.
the breakfast place as well. We haven't really had any problems too much with parking. Every once in a while, we might have to remind the customer, don't park in between the building and the parked cars, but
Yeah.
they're very respectful
I-
about
I-
it.
I think, I just can't see somebody going in there and shopping for hours.
Right, no,
Yeah.
The people are in there the long. We like to provide a lot of information. If you look at our
Right.
reviews, we
In your
probably
first few times, your new customers, that'll absolutely happen.
yeah.
Yep.
But
So that's
after
what.
that, they're gonna
Yeah.
know what they want, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
So I'm not feeling like it's a problem. I think staff wrote an adequate condition in there that's gonna handle the parking. So I guess my only one I really have is to somehow work out this rear and the hours. And
well, and maybe putting signage and designating an employee only. And,
Yeah.
I mean, that might, and as you said, putting some cones out, at least for a while, till people get
Yeah.
used to it. I don't know. I mean, does that make sense to just
it
designate it
does.
that way?
I'd
Because there are
like to
only,
do-
there are about 3
I don't-
spaces back there. Well,
There's about
actually more. 'Cause
there are, no, there are more. I
Reptile
guess.
Rapture must park in there too. So
They do.
the area where
We-
they come in.
We have our 3 spaces, and I think they have about 4
Yeah,
in the
so
back
it
end.
looks like
So
Sorry,
they
yeah,
kind
they're
of come into their
part,
building,
yeah.
they're part of the building.
Mhm.
I'd like to see some kind of a condition that we're just limiting activity in the back there. I'd like some consensus on what hours would be reasonable if you were sitting in your backyard.
Rob,
I don't think we need it. I
Don't
don't
think
think
we need
this
it?
use is gonna generate raucous noise, light pollution. I just don't see it. And frankly, I don't know, do you get deliveries to the back, or does that even go to the front? Because I don't
don't.
see storage. It's not like there's a loading dock or
we
anything.
they're normally in the front. We don't have. It's normally UPS or USPS.
Yeah,
that
I
would
just-
mail.
I don't see a need.
You have a door to the first floor and the upstairs to the basement, both coming from the rear,
Mhm.
so I can see that getting used.
Yeah.
And landscaping, I agree with what somebody else said, Doug, that
I'm sorry, we've having Zoom
We're having to
issues.
reconnect to our free meeting here.
Technology.
Did the meeting end on your end?
It was incorrectly saying we had a free account, so I restarted it here, and it looks like we can just
Do
re-enter.
you want to rejoin here? I'll rejoin. Sounds good.
That's what I was typing away, trying to fix that. Sorry about that. And it looks like people are joining back as well, so,
Coming back.
yeah, thank you. Pay the bills.
Yeah. All right, I think we're back. Chris, do you want to go back and make your last comment again?
Which one was that?
It was landscaping.
Landscaping, I agree that the entire building's deficient along that strip, needs to be fixed. And it's the same owner, and technically the zoning permit goes to the property owner anyway, so they need to it should have been maintained once we planted it as a city, but now it needs to all be fixed. When you work with them, I'm fine with it being in-house between you and them.
Anything else? No. Okay. I have one question that has to do with how your deliveries work, not the deliveries you receive, but the deliveries that you offer for customers. Can you walk us through what that entails?
Yeah, so when a customer would like a delivery, they'll go on our website, put in their address, then they have an account as well. They place the order, and then it pops up on our side. We get it ready, package it appropriately, and then we drive it to their destination, check their ID, make sure it matches with their account, and then it's almost like a Uber service or
Sure.
like a
So of the
DoorDash.
3 employees that you would have working, one's security, one's running deliveries, and the other's maintaining the store?
We have a designated driver.
So like a
Between
four-
he'll be between Park Street and
okay.
the Monona store
Okay.
for delivery driving.
So it might be running product from one location, but for both stores.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
On
I
the
think I
digital side.
misunderstood your comment on the delivery. I thought you were talking about like our delivery service and not like deliveries to the store.
Right.
Deliveries to the store typically don't go past, I'd say like 4 o'clock. We have a staff member who's going to be running both our locations, and she does her hours are typical 9 to 5 hours. So none of our deliveries would go past those 9 to 5 hours.
Perfect.
But whether it comes through the back or the front.
And just keep that in mind, that
Yeah,
you
of
have
course.
neighbors
Yep.
behind you that are residential.
You answered all the other questions I had. Is there anybody that's willing to make a motion?
I'll move approval with condition 1 and 2 is written by staff. Condition 3, after planning commission review, add end conditions. So it will read, should parking become an issue on site, additional planning commission review and conditions may be required. Condition 4 and 5 and 6 is written by staff, and condition 7 to limit the hours of use in the rear, to limit the uses in the rear after 7 p.m.
Limit.
All right, is there a second?
I'll second.
All right.
Okay, I'll explain it now.
Yep.
That last one was a really soft thing. I said limit the hours of use after 7, so it leaves you a lot of leeway. It just means be respectful of your neighbors behind you. I didn't tell you what you can or can't do, but just limit your operations back there.
Okay.
You know, some of the things you talk, hey, the best thing you could do is what you talk about. I'll put some cones up, I'll do a few
Yeah.
things, because when everybody does it, there'll never be a complaint, and you will never hear from us or see us again, as much fun as you're having tonight.
This is my first time in something like this, so it is an experience.
Well, you're lucky you got broken in by us.
You should make sure you know the difference between your employees versus Reptile, in case their customers in case they come back to use the stalls. So you should tell them.
So, okay, yeah, in case Reptile Rapture is back there later hours, I don't know, because it technically is his property. So I don't know how I should have avoided, I guess.
Does he own the building?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, but there's nothing you can do about that.
Yeah. Normally, since I've been there, I don't really ever see them back there past 7 o'clock is the latest I've ever seen a car back there, and they're quiet. They're normally in
And
their
he has the
store.
same issues. He doesn't want the neighborhood to be up in arms against him either, does he?
Yeah, no, he likes it there. From the conversations I've had, he enjoys being there. So.
Yeah. Yeah, but we understand you can only control what is in your business.
Any
Thank
other comments? Any other questions? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Hi.
Opposed? All right, welcome to the neighborhood.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good luck. We can move on to item 7C. This is a public hearing on the request by Carol and Terry Winkerton? Okay. And this is represented by TDS Custom Construction for approval of a zoning permit for the construction of a new one-story addition and deck in the Community Design District at 6103 Roselawn Avenue, in this case number 2/16/2025. And this is the public hearing section. And do we have, I think we have someone from TDS that can give us a brief overview of the project. You don't need to go into great depth, just a brief overview for the public hearing section.
All right. Should I go ahead then?
Yep, you're on.
Okay, great. Yeah, thanks for having me. My name's Christy Weber. I work at TDS Custom Construction in Madison, working with Terry and Carol Workentine on an addition to their house located at 6103 Roselawn, as you said. It's a community design district, so any sort of changes, additions, and things need to be approved by this committee. The goal for this addition was to put on an addition that could accommodate future bedroom, and that is for aging in place. The size, of course, is basically dictated by the necessary furniture that you need, and it was tricky to move through the design because they have a very unique loft shape that produces kind of an angle. We went through a couple different iterations and came to the one that you see before you now because it fit everything that they needed inside the space to create a bedroom in the future, while still sort of giving a reasonable setback from the property line. All the materials and finishes are matching the existing house. So it's in character with the house, it's in character with the rest of the subdivision. And does not significantly change the green space. I think it might have reduced it by like 1.5 square feet. Faces the large open space of the church property to the south, so it's not really impeding on other neighbors' views or things like that. And then we did receive a letter from their HOA indicating that they were supportive of the project. I sent that to Thor last week, and I'm hoping that he did forward it on to you all, but I can dig up a copy if that didn't happen. So yeah, that's basically the summary of the project, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you have.
All right, thank you. Is anybody else here to speak during the public hearing section? Seeing nobody here, is there anybody else on Zoom that's here to speak on the public hearing section? Seeing none, we'll close that and go on to item 7D, which is consideration of action of the request by Carol and Terry Workentine, closer that time of night, represented by TDS Custom Construction for the approval of a zoning permit for the construction of a new one-story addition and deck in the Community Design District at 6103 Roselawn Avenue, case number 2/16/2025. Doug.
Thank you. So as mentioned, this is a proposed addition in the Community Design District. This will be replacing an existing deck in the side yard with both the one-story addition as well as a new, much smaller deck as well. So the property is Lot 6 within the Femrite and Roselawn Small Lot Subdivision, Zone Community Design District, CDD, therefore zoning permit approval for the addition is required, and that is reviewed by the Plan Commission. A general development plan was approved for this site in September of 2011, and a precise implementation plan approved in October of the same year, 2011. The plat, GDP, and PIP do not specify a process for administrative approvals of the building modifications, and it was determined that this modification shall be reviewed using the zoning permit review process. The zoning and land use, as mentioned, it's community design district, single-family residential in the current land use map, and then designated as multifamily in the future land use. This site, the larger small lot subdivision, was a 0.84 acre site that was divided into 6 lots for single-family detached homes and 1 outlot with shared parking, driveway, and open green space. Subdivision approved in 2011, and this home in question was constructed in 2014. As mentioned, we did receive HOA approval after the packets went out before this meeting. Apologies that was not shared. I can pull that up on the screen once I've gone through this. As far as the improvements, like I mentioned, these are to the southern facade. Ground floor addition that would allow the construction of a bedroom on the main level for aging in place, in addition to the deck. The design appears to be harmonious with the rest of the home, using very similar materials, both for the siding as well as the roof. And the setbacks, there are no minimum setbacks specified within the community design district. The site plan that was approved as part of the PIP does show a 3-foot rear setback for the southern property boundary. And then the deck, the existing deck is currently encroaching into that and actually over the property line. There was discussion with the applicant, and they have addressed that through the redesign of this proposal, such that now there is no encroachment, and it's fully on the property, but also sticking to the 3-foot setback for the construction as well. There is a slight roof overhang, which is typical within for single-family homes and not of concern. As far as the open green space, this has a very minimal impact on the actual square footage of improvements, and still has that in excess on this site of 40%, 40. So there was some notes in the back with the PIP of the stormwater management that was discussed, I believe, because there was not, the infrastructure was lacking maybe on Roselawn specifically, but that's just being put as a discussion here, just with the additional construction that's taking place. But again, very minimal net construction there. So no other modifications are being discussed, and again, this was proposed or shared with staff, and there was no feedback. With that, the recommendation is approval with 2 findings of fact and 2 conditions as listed in the staff report. Thank you.
Susan?
I think it looks fine. I don't have any questions. It's appropriate, and I drove by it. Looks like it fits.
Perfect.
So nothing to add.
Great.
Seems like a really great option.
Chris?
Looks good. I have one comment that doesn't affect them, but when we do our new comp plan, this is in front of us because of the zoning. And when we do our new comp plan, we should have some zoning for where we have a different type of residential district, but it could still be a residential zoning. And when something like this comes in, just go to the building inspector like it should, instead of having to go through a planning commission review. So just a note to self, we should have some type of residential zoning for the denser things that we put in, the denser subdivisions.
Perfect. Rob?
Nothing.
All right.
Looks good.
I have nothing further as well. Is there somebody willing to make a motion?
I move approval with findings of fact and conditions of approval as written by staff.
And second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, thank you. Thank you, Ms. Passed. We'll go on to item 7E, which is public hearing on the request by First Choice Dental, represented by Sketchworks Architecture LLC for construction of a zoning permit for construction of a new dental office at 900 East Broadway. This is case 2/17/2025. And do we have someone to speak? Give us a general description. You've heard my spiel.
We're going to tag team for you. So I'm Brad Crowley. I'm President and CEO of 1848 Construction. We've been retained by First Choice as the design builder for the project. For the last 6 or 7 projects, we've hired Sketchworks Architecture to do the architectural design. Standard & Associates does the civil design and the landscape planning. So First choice is a Dane County dental clinic. I think they have like 13 locations around. Just recently, we built one in Mount Horeb in DeForest last year. The goal this year is to build one in Monona, hopefully, Oregon, and Janesville. So they're just looking to grow and improve their footprint. So over the years, we've rebuilt and reused the plan and tried to make them more efficient and kind of a little bit of branding in them for them as far as their appearance and the look. But there's some stuff in the documents for what their buildings look like, what they like them to look like.
And do we have anybody else here to speak on the public hearing section? Seeing none in the room, anybody online? Seeing none, we can close the public hearing section. We'll go on to the next step. That's the pre-hearing conference on the request by First Choice General, represented by Sketchwork Architects, LLC, for consideration of a zoning permit for construction of a new dental office at 900 East Broadway, case number 2/17/2025. Doug, can you walk us through this, and then we'll jump into the materials in the packet and give you feedback.
Absolutely. So the request here would be the demolition of the existing structures, construction of a new one-story 6,300 square foot dental office, 900 East Broadway. This was most recently the Joe's Fire Station Bar and has been vacant for some time, so they're looking to redevelop the site. This would be a pre-hearing conference, so staff has worked with the applicant to get the materials here this evening, and they're expecting to make any changes and coming forward for formal consideration shortly as well. So the property, 900 East Broadway, is located in the Community Design District, the CDD, and as far as standards for that, it's expected to include a compatible mix of residential, commercial, industrial, and open space uses, which realize the goals of the comprehensive plan. The comprehensive plan identifies and classifies this as commercial in both the current and future land use maps. And Capital Area Regional Planning Commission lists that as land used for retail, service, commercial, and office uses. Adjacent land uses here, including commercial and retail to the west and the Broadway Business Park to the east. This is located along or close to the Madison Metro Route 38, has pedestrian connectivity to the recently completed Broadway Townhomes and Lofts project as well as the future Broadway Senior Living project at the same site as well. So the site is just under 1 acre at 40,177 square feet. And the site plan indicates that there'd be just over 26,000 of existing, or there is just over 26,000 of existing impervious, which will increase slightly to 27,225 following the improvements, but that would still leave over 30%, that would be 32.2% of open green space, meeting the city's requirements of that for 30%. The building is proposed towards the northwestern portion of the site, with the drive aisle to the east of the building. The parking area, stormwater facilities would be behind the building to the south. The building is situated close to East Broadway with rear parking in order to provide greater visibility from the street, encourage the pedestrian traffic, and also just given some of the site constraints that are there as well. Adjacent properties utilize parking, but in both the street and sort of the street yard, but also further back as well. So that may just be a discussion point this evening in terms of the orientation and the potential site layout for the proposal. The southern half of this site and much of the western portion of the lot is covered by wetlands and CARPC environmental corridor as well, which does limit the buildable area. And there's already been discussion and general sort of approval from CARPC that the site layout as put forward is appropriate and can be pursued by the applicant. Circulation, there are a couple easements to be discussed as well. There is a 20-foot wide north-south easement and a 20-foot east-west easement closest to East Broadway. The east-west easement allows access into the adjacent commercial center, and the intention is to keep that in place. And then there's discussion with the city that's ongoing regarding the north-south easement. It's believed that this relates to the previous, when this was the Beltline highway, and so some of the access points there to the lot to the south. It has been discussed at a high level with city staff that there's not a concern about the vacation of that, but we will continue discussions as this potentially moves forward to a formal consideration. As far as the setbacks, this would be about 40 feet from the northern property. The building would be 5.5 from the western, as well as 5 feet from the pedestrian walkway to the east. Per attachment 2 of the zoning code, commercial uses, including dental clinics, shall provide 1 stall for every 300 square feet of gross floor area. The proposed building would require 22, and the applicant is proposing 31 stalls, including 2 ADA accessible. The materials state that there'd be 60 anticipated daily visitors. Employees are not indicated, the number of those, and maybe a discussion point. There's also, of course, the opportunity for some overflow parking, although the hours with some of the neighboring businesses, but the limited hours of operation here, Monday to Thursday 7 until 5 and Friday 7 until 4. It may actually be more weekend hours potentially using this rather than the other way around. As far as architecture, the main customer entrance is from the rear of the building, from the parking lot, which is to the south. The large glazing elements highlighting the entryway and the patient waiting area in the southwestern corner. Northern facade along East Broadway utilizes the stone veneer as well. Staff feedback is that there could potentially be greater visual interest along East Broadway and sort of engagement there, possibly integrating the signage or something like that, just to give sort of another frontage to the building effectively. The stormwater plans would certainly be discussed prior to formal consideration. Same with lighting and landscaping, although any feedback the Commission chooses to give could be considered in advance of the formal consideration. Some feedback from department heads included in the staff report as well, from both the fire chief as well as the Public Works project manager. And I'll just point out some of those elements there about COPSI have already started to be addressed. So I included the comments, but I think we'll connect them after this meeting. So you can go from there. That's everything from me. Thanks.
Great.
All right. I think the land use is good and appropriate, and I did go back. There's some work to be done on this site, and I was just, the pile in the back, is that on this property? The pile of,
It is. The seller is to remove that before closing.
okay. What, do you know what that is back there?
Well, I think there's a lot of stuff back in there,
Oh,
so.
okay. Yeah,
The
nobody should go
previous owner
back.
was kind of a hoarder, so it's funny, it's my best friend's stepdad who owned it, so
Oh,
I've been the property over, and like when that shed was there, that shed was filled with stuff before they took it down, so there's a lot of rubbish and stuff to be removed
Okay,
from the property, so, but that's part of the transaction, it has to be removed before the sale closes.
okay. I was just curious. I do like the parking behind the building so that this is closer to the street, but I was thinking about, you'd mentioned, I think it was in your letter, that, you're close to apartments where people could be walking and it's on the bus line, that sort of thing. So what if somebody went to the door in the front, on the north side of the building? What happens? Does it say go around to the back?
There'll be a sign there to send
Okay.
them back. So everything on Broadway, so typically that's the rear of their clinics. So with us having the parking in the back on this site, we were looking at ways to dress up the front of the building so it looks, aesthetically attractive, but still have people go around the front. So the discussion now is to put a sign that the main entrance is on the front. That's just for egress on the back for fire.
Okay. Did you try some different orientations of the building?
Yeah. So the site's very challenging because it was said that there is a wetland. The wetland's off the site, but there's a 75-foot setback on the property. So Snyder and Associates did the existing condition survey to determine where the gravel and the building and all those structures were. So that we submitted to CARPC. There is a 20-foot easement on the west side that runs all the way back. We've researched it, and I've got some data on it or some info that I found. Nothing definitive, but it just seems like that was put there to develop the lots south, pre-Beltline. So when the state bought the land in mid-'80s, they did not assign or ask for an assignment or assessment or something for the easement. So we think it passed with that transaction. But we've done many different iterations of how to lay out the site. What we submitted is what we plan on, just because we want to harness the view over the wetland. So when those trees are gone, when people are sitting in the waiting room, they can have a pleasant view of the wetlands instead of looking at the parking lot that would be to the east. So we did look at quite a few different options for the site, and this was the one that we thought worked the best.
Yeah, I appreciate the fact that you're trying to make use of the view too, because people are waiting for their appointment, or the staff that are working there. It's nicer to look at that
Mhm.
than at the road. So I was just thinking about it from the pedestrian perspective. If they approach the building, they try the door, or they see the sign, then they have to walk around, but.
And I'm sorry, we did have an option with some parking in the front, but the fear from First Choice was if you were limited to, say, 6 stalls in the front with both handicap stalls, they're afraid people would drive by, see the front parking lot full, and then never stop by. So we've looked at that option too. And then with it, there's a 20-foot setback right on Broadway to get to the adjacent property. That pushed the building back a little bit farther as well, so.
Okay. And how many people will be working there at any given time?
So I think there'll be, something that we skipped a little bit. Since we submitted those documents, we have reduced the size of the building, I think 12 feet in the north-south direction and compressed a little bit in the east-west direction, so we can have the west side of the building 10 feet off the property line. So the numbers that were in the report, we've expanded on that a little bit to compress the building that way. We did, as part of that, reduce the drive aisle to 22 feet. I'm pretty sure it's 22 feet.
That sounds right.
Instead of 24 feet, but in that, it'll just be opposing traffic. There's no parking stalls on the sign, so we thought that would work to help fit within that lot.
Yeah, I mean, that spot was pretty compressed. We needed the 10 feet for a fire separation distance. We don't need a fire rated wall there, so we try to compress where we could on the site to get everything to fit.
Okay.
So to answer your question, we expect 3 doctors,
Okay.
6 to 7 hygienists, and about 3 administrative staff. So about 12 to 13 when they're fully operational, of course, depending on how productive those people are, so.
Okay. That's all I have.
Chris? Okay, I think it's a fine use. I think it'd be great to see that property develop. I'm sure Joel will be sad that all the fire trucks and parts are all gone off, but.
Joe's gone too, so he's
I
not too
know.
sad.
So that easement you feel was put in long ago, was it the state that put it in?
No, it was, I found it, the seller agent gave us a copy of it. It was issued in 1967.
Okay, that's the state then. I was just thinking it could have happened when we redeveloped Broadway, but it had been long before we redeveloped Broadway.
And I'm sorry, it's interesting because the easement runs right through the existing building,
Yeah.
which we think was built before 1950. So
Yeah.
I kind of, to the First Choice Stone, I thought, well, it probably was put in there, back in 67, they were infilling wetlands, so they probably thought that was going to be their access to get to that property before, it was bought by the state and developed from the DOT, so.
So it has nothing to do with your neighbor then? And your building now, when you pulled it off, I like it better 10 foot off, but then, is that a bump out for the neighbor? They're parking, it looks like, I don't have an overhead, but when we have your property lines here, but then there's this little bump out, and it looks like they're parking right in there.
I think currently they're
Their parking
going
lot
across
goes right into
across
that.
the property line.
So what I'm getting to is we need a little better data on both sides, buildings, parking lots on both sides, just to see where your neighbors are when we get a final submittal.
Okay.
And I'm just curious if they have an easement there now that you narrowed up your building that maybe gets rid of this issue. You narrowed it up and shortened it, but there's something going on there we don't know us. And the neighbor is very short of parking. So if they lose those stalls, that would be an issue for them. Because I remember it's Hanson and Son, I think now, Chimney. It was, why I was curious about this is, this originally was the vet clinic, right? Animal hospital. And then when they built the new animal hospital next door to the west, they always had an agreement with the city they were going to tear down this building once they built that. But then this building just lived on, so I was curious if for some reason that was going to be torn down, there's going to be some access through there. But if it's 67, that was before that all happened. But should show all that. My Bible number.
And I'm sorry, just to clarify, you want us to check with the.
Well, show the pavement on both sides, show buildings, sure. So,
Yeah.
we wanna know everybody's out.
And I think that line was the pavement as it.
The dash one there?
This right here, I
That
believe
goes
is-
right into the corner of your building.
Is the pavement that comes
Yeah,
across.
yeah, it's on, is it on your property? Is it on
Yes.
an easement?
This is the property line right
Correct.
here.
But is there an easement for it to be there?
Not that we're aware of.
Okay.
There's not one that we've found. This dash line here is that easement that was created back
To the
in
south.
'67 that
Okay.
runs the whole way
Okay,
across the property.
okay. Well, it'll be interesting to see what happens there, because they had those parking stalls when they got their approval. I think what you gave us for the elevation on Broadway is, looks like you dressed up the back of the building. I think the ones you submitted us, that all the other ones you built, those look really nice. I think you need to do something more on Broadway to make this look like you didn't just throw some stone on the back of a building. It needs to have, a nice look. Something, thank you, Doug, you're really efficient at this. But something that says, here, this is a great spot. And I would think your clients would like that too, to have a place that people, this looks like a place I want to go to. But I think what you gave us is very, very plain. So I think there needs to be a little work there. Staff, it looks like a lot of operatories, more than what you just said for staff. How many operatories you got programmed in there? You lost 2, I suppose?
I think there were 14 and we took out 3.
3?
Yeah.
So you're down to 11 operatories?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then you're getting, this one bothers me with parking more than the other one, but I think you're gonna be nip and tuck. Our per, 300 square feet, that's normal uses, but then we also have something that goes to like clinics and things like that, where they take more parking, they just do. So we just wanna make sure you have enough parking. You do too, because there's really nowhere, you talked about sharing, there's not really anywhere to share around here. They're all pretty busy. I think that's it for me. I think the biggest thing is the elevation to fix it up. I have no issue going down to 22 feet for that aisle along the side there. There's nobody pulling out in there. Parking, I think you have a kind of a creative parking alignment back there, and it works. And as long as you sign it so your main customers take a right when they get in there, and I guess my comment would be that maybe you just sign or show that for employee parking down there.
Sure.
Right? Because this is bottom one that comes down, because that's a hard place for clients to get in and out of, or your patients. So if you just sign people to go over there, you've got great circulation, and go back out, or they come through, but that way they're not trying to parallel park in a narrow drive aisle. So,
And we've done the same with the parking, is rotated them and angled and 60 and 45 degrees, and that was our best solution to maximize the parking back behind the building.
you got really creative to get what you did. I applaud you.
I didn't come up with it, but.
Yeah, well, no, you really did. When you shortened the building by 12 feet, did you gain any stalls?
That's a great question. I don't think we modified that.
Yeah, this version doesn't have it, so that is something we'll have to look at.
Should have gained
for the
2
next
stalls
ones.
from what I see
Yeah.
there. For somewhere where there's no overflow, it'd be something you want to look at putting in there, I would
Mhm.
think. But I think you did a great job of maximizing it. So, that's it for me. I think it'd be a great addition to Monona. I'd love to see it here. Sounds good.
I love the use, I think that's great. I have a few comments about the site plan, but it sounds like that's in flux. Some of these are details that I'm sure would be addressed in further submittals, but I have them written here, so I'll ask them. So you're shortening the drive aisle to 22 feet, and is that just on the east side of the building? Is the drive aisle 24 in the parking lot?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yep.
That's good. How long are your parallel stalls?
Oh, gosh.
Because I think those, well, I'll just say, I think the minimum recommendation is 22 feet. So
Okay.
I don't know what those are at, but something to look at.
Sounds
Okay.
good.
I don't know if there's going to be concrete for that trash enclosure area, or if that will be
They're typically
asphalt.
concrete, yep.
Just a silly detail. That as you drive in on the east side, there's that not drive aisle. It's essentially kind of shown as like an island there. It's currently pavement, I think, now from the adjacent lot. kind of that little wedge on the bottom right corner.
Yeah.
Oh, down here?
No, further
This one
to,
here?
yeah, is that
So
outside
that's-
of the drive? It's the white space, right where the hand is.
Yeah, right.
Oh, right there.
Yeah. Is that gonna be, saw cut and removed? Is that gonna be green space?
So that's current, I'm pretty sure that's current asphalt that serves Joe's parking lot. So, you know, like the lot up here, he took it, or when it was built across the property line down there. So that'll all be removed and returned to green space. out
Okay.
there. It's the neighbor's property. So
Oh.
this
Oh,
is
I was
the-
getting confused with that topo, or that,
Impervious.
yeah, impervious line. Never mind, disregard.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah, and sorry, so this dash line is the existing impervious that was determined. So this is the wetland, this is a 75-foot wetland
Yeah.
setback, and then this is the line that they found of the impervious that was there, which really just allows us to put these stalls here because it's a redevelopment site.
okay. That overhead electrical pole in the front, is that's plan is to stay right there?
Well, typically, we would request that we could go underground from the pole, because the main lines run here, out right on Broadway.
That would be
So we
nice.
would request with the power company to probably drop off of that one and run
Okay.
underground to the building.
Yeah, I hope you're able to do that. Oh, and then I was just gonna say on the walk that goes around the building, I assume that's probably gonna be a thickened edge walk, create some separation from that
Right.
driveway.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
That's all.
All right.
So if I could, while this is up here, what we were talking before is, from here to here is where we shrunk it to 22 feet. So we could get a little bit more room up here, be 10 feet off the building, or off the property line. Then we took, I think, a foot or two out of there. So the majority of it came from this drive aisle and then the building, just so we could get 10 feet up there in the west property line.
Susan?
Nothing to add, really. I think it's great, it's exciting to get that developed. I guess, and I don't disagree with Chris that something with a little more oomph facing them. I get that it's the back of your building, but it is the front for us, from a drive for Broadway, so whatever you can do there would be helpful, but otherwise, it's a great use, and it looks good.
Great.
I guess to that point, I'm wondering if maybe the landscaping could give it a little bit more of that curb appeal. Because again, I'm thinking about if you make it look like an entrance, people are going to want to enter there. Although maybe I'm thinking about this too much. People are going to be driving. I don't know. I just wonder how many people are going to be walking, how many people are going to be driving.
We
but-
went through the same thing,
Yeah.
'cause originally we just put an entrance element on both sides of the buildings, and that was a discussion that we had, is how will they control that second entrance? And the answer was, well, it'll be locked all the time, so then how do they get people to go around the front of the building too? So we've struggled with the same thing, how to make it look better without making it look like an entrance with the entrance in the back, so.
Make it look like an entrance. I would argue 95% of the people minimum will be driving.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
More.
Well, it's good.
I would argue more.
I mean, you
I
have
said
a,
minimum.
Yeah.
you have a little gable on the back, so maybe even just like adding a little like gable with some landscaping on the front. I don't know. You're the
And you're
expert.
landscaping, yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, yes, that-
Yeah.
That was the only feedback I had, was that elevation as well. Everything else has been asked. Is there any questions from you two for us that would be helpful for you prior to coming back?
So our two greatest questions really were the easement. Because with the site plan, we would need to flip it if that easement had to stay, and then we'd have to move the building back because of the easement going the opposite direction. So that was a big concern of ours. And then the second one was that, we've considered it a redevelopment site with all of the existing conditions out there as we've shown. We've submitted to CARPC. CARPC agreed that it was a redevelopment site. So all of our stormwater calculations will be based on it being a redevelopment site. We have done geotechnical investigation out there, and the water table is very shallow because of the wetlands, so we'll be limited. We won't be able to infiltrate, but we'll be able to clean the water before it goes out. So if we don't get credit for all of the impervious that's there, it'll be a significantly different looking project.
I agree with what he said, be a 40% TSS removal on this one, and you have to clean it the best you can, and you may, I don't know how you choose to do it, you may end up with a lined bio basin or something just because of the proximity to groundwater.
Yep.
But infiltration was almost certainly going to be excluded here. So that answers all your questions. For
Yeah, really just
water
was-
quality, you're completely on with what I would expect, and we would consider it a redevelopment site for sure, which would take it down to the 40% TSS.
Okay. There was a comment from someone in the staff that said it didn't think it was going to be redevelopment, but might not have seen all the information too.
It is, and I think what Brad was doing is probably bringing up possibilities that might happen or questions for us to look at as the planning commission.
Sure.
It would be reviewed by our consultant, not in-house.
End it again.
Oh.
We're going to be restarting the meeting again.
I apologize. For some reason, the account is listed as a free account, and you get 40 minutes at a time.
Yeah,
So,
that's interesting.
Pay your bills, Doug.
we're current on one page, and then this one is not working, so I do apologize.
My estimate is still good. This doesn't count.
Yeah. It's like playing soccer, you gotta stop
Might,
them.
might be Bree's account expired since she just came back from Whitewater.
Now, don't you blame this on me.
It makes sure people are paying attention online.
Yeah.
They log back in.
Yeah, they have to log back in. No bots following us.
What people?
All right, I think we're back and good. And so Chris, if you just
You
want
want
to
me to
summarize
reiterate
the-
that? Yes, we would consider this a redevelopment site, so 40% TSS. You'll have to do your borings like everyone else does, and you will probably find shallow groundwater, in which case, if we can't infiltrate, if we don't have appropriate soils, we're no different. We're under Dane County's umbrella, and you've worked in Dane County a lot, right? So it'll be all the same criteria, but as community, when we send it to our consultant, we will consider this a redevelopment.
Okay, great, thank you. I did think of one more question. There was the comment that we will need another zoning permit because the building or the business has not been in business for more than 6 months. Is that a plan commission process, or what is?
No.
the
No,
process
that-
for-
that's
Is it just an
just a-
application?
It's all part of the same thing. For the
Okay.
construction, the use, it all
Okay.
considered.
I
If
didn't know
you
if it changed our
were going
schedule.
in an existing building that had been nobody in there for 6 months, you'd have to come get a new zoning permit, but not for a new building like this.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, great.
I like
And then
it that
your
you read all
question.
the details.
Your question regarding the easement, Doug, was there anything that he needed to do public works wise?
So we've met internally as staff to look at this. I have a digital copy of the easement. What I'm going to do next is send it to the city attorney, just to get his opinion, make sure we're all on the same page. I wanted to get through this evening, but I will do that, and we'll also coordinate with Vibeke, the city's consultant for stormwater, and we can get those discussions started as well.
Okay.
I have one more comment,
Yeah.
if I may. Have you considered a bike rack?
We have not, but they've been incorporated in most, if not all, the facilities that we built recently, so.
It's right on the bike lane there,
Mhm.
so that would be something to consider.
So I'd say typically we would probably put it around the back, probably west of the entrance in a piece of concrete over there.
Okay.
That was more of a rhetorical question. It's like, please consider it like that.
Yes, that's true.
Show it on the next set of plans.
Yes. We didn't bring it up, but.
Yes.
All right. One additional time for you guys to ask if there's any other questions that you have that would be helpful from us.
We're good?
All right, awesome. We can close the
Thank you.
pre-hearing conference. Thank you, guys.
Thank you all.
And we'll move on to item 7G, which is public hearing on the request for David Kinnear, if I got your name right, for approval of a zoning permit for construction of a new pergola in the Community Design District at 105 Columbia Circle. This is case number 2/18/2025. And David, if you can just briefly share with us what it is that you're hoping to do, which I think the title of this explained, but we'll give you an opportunity to share as well.
Hello.
Okay.
You all know what I'm trying to do?
We think so, but for everybody that's watching tonight.
Pardon me?
For everybody that's watching tonight, which everybody is signed off by now, if you can just briefly tell us what it is that you're trying to put in, and then we'll close the public hearing and move on to the consideration of action.
Okay, I'm trying to construct a pergola on an existing 8x12 deck. I'm sorry, 8x14 deck. The pergola will be 8x8 mounted right in the center of the deck. The deck is freestanding, which means it's not attached to the house in any way. It's built on pillow blocks. Did you all get pictures of what I'm doing?
Yep.
So you saw my deck that I built back in 2011, and I didn't have to go through all this to get a permit back then. There's a lot of things that have changed evidently.
Doug wasn't working. No.
That's the deal, huh?
Yeah.
Well, I remember I walked into the building inspector's office with plans of what I wanted to do, and I walked out that same day with the work permits.
Yeah.
So I thought, okay. But that's basically all I'm trying to do, just trying to improve the backyard, provide a little shade over that deck. Simple procedure.
Wonderful. All right, we'll close the public hearing section because there's nobody else in the room to speak on this item, and there's nobody online to speak on this item. So then we can move on to 7H, which is a consideration of action by the request of David Canary for the approval of a zoning permit for construction of a new pergola in the Community Design District at 105 Columbia Circle, Case 2/18/2025. Doug.
Thank you. So the property here, 105 Columbia, is lot 34 of the Onondaga Estates subdivision, zone community design district, and the zoning permit is to be reviewed for the construction this evening and approved by the Plan Commission. There is a precise implementation plan, PIP, for the Onondaga Estates, and that was approved by Plan Commission and Council back in 1994. There are restrictions and covenants included within this which state that the developer retains architectural control of most lots, including the lot in question within the subdivision, and that they have the right to establish an architectural control committee. Subsequently, when this request came in, it was discovered that that committee has been disbanded. We did contact, the applicant did contact Viridian, who was previously Don Simon Homes when this was developed. They declined to review the application. After speaking with the city attorney, it was advised that this application should be reviewed by the Planning Commission via zoning permits. The site, 105 Columbia, is approximately 7,500 square feet, and it has a 2,200 square foot single family home. Has an attached garage and the existing deck at the rear of the property, floating deck detached from the main house. This would add to that 8x14 deck that was previously permitted in 2011. I did note when going back through the records, there was an easement encroachment agreement there with the A&R Pipeline Company that holds a 25-foot gas line easement in the rear yard. You'll see that on some of the documentation that was submitted. It also states within there that the deck was permitted, although any further changes to the design or construction must also be approved. So it's recommended that be a condition of any approval tonight, that be done administratively with sign-off from staff once that documentation is obtained. So the pergola itself, just under 8 feet in height, made of PVC for low maintenance, appears to be harmonious with the rest of the structure as well as the deck that it would be attached to. There are no setbacks specifically prescribed within the restrictions and covenants. Street yard setbacks as well as side yard are set up, and there are some for rear yard that it may be no more than 20 feet in depth from the rear lot line. Interpretation there, though, is that's for the primary structure, and this being detached, it does not list standards for accessory structures. And I did find the building permits from 2011, didn't find any other reference to zoning or anything like that. I did include just sort of the standard single-family district standards just for reference here, really, more than anything, which, again, for reference would be 3 feet from both side and rear yard. So this being built upon an existing structure would not impact any of the open green space, and no other modifications are planned at this point. So with that, staff recommends approval with findings of fact and conditions as listed.
Questions or a motion?
I do have a comment and a question. Comment, I'm sorry you have to go through all this. It's what we talked about on the other one. It's just
It's
our
becoming,
issue and not yours.
it's becoming an experience, believe me.
Yeah, really, I bet it has been. But it's because of the zoning type there, and it was that zoning type because they're smaller lots than normal, you know all about that, but because of that zoning type and nothing else in place, technically you have to come back here. So I'm sorry you have to do that. We're gonna get that fixed with a new comp plan. My question for staff is, do we really need a condition that we have to see his permit from the pipeline company that it's okay with them to change the deck? Are we really need to put ourselves in the middle of that?
It was more of a, certainly, just a recommendation, but more of a
Yes.
staff level, but having seen the documents, and I should have, should have included in the packet, but just that it specifically did say further changes, that was the only thing. Now, this is above the deck.
But see, I could
It's not.
take an interpretation on that and say, well, I'm not changing the deck, I'm just attaching something to the deck that's
That's fine.
permitted. And if I took that interpretation, and I'm not telling you what to do, but you know, I've dealt with the A&R pipeline a lot in our subdivisions, and it's not always easy to get answers and things, so do you really feel it's necessary for us to have that as a condition? Or could it be just softened to, we recommend they,
I'm comfortable with that.
because I would recommend that, and then it's, you know, it's up to the applicant. If he gets a real runaround, this is really simple. He just wants to put a pergola on his existing deck. He's not changing the deck, he's not changing the foundation. I went and looked, it's outside of where the pipeline, that pipeline must be right about outside your fence, right?
Right outside the fence, yeah.
That's what I figured when I was
And
standing.
I already got an easement from them
Yeah,
on the deck.
but they like to have a nice wide easement, but that deck doesn't affect that
Yeah.
pipeline. So, that just made my one recommendation, that we just soften that, and if all of a sudden you can't find the right person at A&R, because this is not a big deal to them, and it might take a long
It's not.
time. Yeah, so,
I talked to A&R,
yeah,
he told me to call Digger's Hotline.
well,
Honest
the
to
biggest
God.
hotline then would mark the line
I
and show you
called,
where it's at.
I called Digger's Hotline then.
Mhm.
They told me as long as I'm not breaking ground, they don't even need to come out.
Yeah.
So I said, thank you.
Yeah.
So a little bit of a carousel going around there.
Yeah.
Is there a motion?
Move approval, findings of fact is written by staff. Condition 1 is written by staff. Condition 2 is we recommend the owner checks with the pipeline for this modification.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, any further questions, comments?
I have a comment. We're recommending you check with the pipeline. I'm not telling you can or can't do anything. You've checked with them. That's up to you what you do with them,
Okay.
as far as we're concerned. As far as the building permit that you would have gotten from a building inspector, it would have been just to put the pergola on top of your deck.
Thank you.
Yep. All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thank you, people.
All right, we can move on to item 8A, and Doug, you can wrap 8A 1 through 5.
Thank you. I do have an update for anybody following along or watching after the fact. I should have mentioned earlier on, and apologies for that, we have been made aware of some potential scam-type documentation that is circulating, coming from myself and Plan Commission, seeking payment of invoices, wire transfer of invoices, lifting that information from my staff reports, spoofing my information. This has been both Plan Commission as well as Zoning Board of Appeals. So we have put alerts. I've contacted all of my recent applicants, all of those this evening, as well as those at the Zoning Board. We have an update on the city website as well, but the headline is the city would never request a wire transfer. So if you get that information, if any of you are contacted or if you have anything that way, please send it to me directly, and we're just trying to get that message out there. It's nothing the city is doing, but certainly an unfortunate development. So just wanted to share that, and for the record as well, just so people know. But as far as economic development update, the CDA is currently looking at modifications to 3 of the tax increment districts. A couple of those are more administrative changes, one of them being Topgolf as it related to the certified survey map. The boundary being redrawn impacted the boundaries there within the district, and so there's some changes there. One for TID 10, which is impacts the bloom up on Monona Drive. There's a potential extension, a couple extra parcels being added there that would take it down to the BMO, the existing BMO site, as there may be opportunity there for redevelopment. So looking to include and discuss that. So that's ongoing. The Joint Review Board will be meeting in the final week of June here, and that'll be potentially moving through CDA City Council. So just as updates there. Upcoming Plan Commission items, we're cancelling the June 23rd meeting and then expecting the July 14th. Potentially a couple comprehensive sign plans coming through for different sites across the city, as well as the North Point, the sort of second phase, the PIP for that potentially as well. So we'll be continuing discussions there. That's everything that I have.
All right, and then 8B, is any questions from the group?
The senior housing behind Chief. What's happening there?
The North Point, so they, I believe, they received their tax credit notification just a couple days ago. That's going to be going out in the city newsletter, so that they're looking to come back for the PIP. Yeah.
Because tonight's meeting was very clear that if you before, what was it, 2008, had filled area and you had it already established, that they can't pull that back to a setback, which is the exact issue we were facing here.
Right.
And by the same ruling, they would be able to get that building off the street a little bit and have a little more room to do things, because that would be grandfathered, filled area. It'd be the exact same determination. That's what we've been trying to get them to look into with carp seed. There's no reason, that site was filled long before 2008. So there's no reason they can't kind of have some breathing room on that site. You should maybe get that information to them.
I'll try and put them together and
Yeah.
probably the two sets of civil engineers, honestly, just have them talk who they
Carp seed,
contacted.
because it's pretty clear as soon as they talk, oh yeah, that's a filled area. Yeah.
I thought.
Thank you.
Yeah, that'd be helpful.
Yeah. Any other questions or comments from the group? All right, seeing none, we need item 9. Motion for adjournment.
Move adjournment.
Second.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, meeting has adjourned. Thank you.
I mean, it wasn't 5 minutes, but.